15 years ago today, Jesus symbolism reached a whole new level of unsubtle. Persona 3 turned 15! God damn, have I just aged an additional 15 years from saying that. Now, gaming wasn't even a concept in my baby brain when the original Persona 3 dropped, and I didn't even have a PS2 back then either. My first experience with the game would end up being with the 2010 PSP port Persona 3 Portable for the PSP. Why did I just say that twice? That was so redundant. For the longest time, Persona 3 has remained my favorite of the what we now call Neo-Persona games. Has it aged badly in some areas? Yeah. Do I have somewhat of a bias towards it for being my first Megami Tensei and Persona game as a whole? Probably. Now, I ain't about to go into this whole sentimental story you see on Persona Twitter all the time like, before Persona 3, I had no friends. And now, I still don't have friends, but I guess a 2D JPEG of a kid in elementary school with a dead mom will do. But this game has, and continues to emotionally resonate with me throughout every revisit, and I just want to share and commemorate why I like this game as much as I do. Ignoring my thoughts on stuff like the answer and its fucked progression system, or Chidori absorbing the life force from the flowers placed on her deathbed, what the fuck. This is why I like Persona 3. Way more than I probably should. Persona 3, in my opinion, has the most well-rounded and likable cast of the modern Persona entries, although it is second to Innocent Sin's cast in my book. Unlike Persona 5, where I thought the cast was a mixed bag of characters I liked, characters I tolerated, and characters I couldn't wait to just get off the fucking screen, man. Or the fact that everyone in Persona 4's cast just kind of got along from the get-go, making the believability of their bond a little less so. There's honestly not a single character in the core cast of Persona 3 I don't like. There are things I have slight irks about, like I think Yukari can come off as a bit abrasive towards Junpei even when he's doing so much as just cracking a light joke. Lay off the guy, seriously. Shinjiro in theory sounds like a compelling character. The whole idea that Ken is knowingly working with someone who lost control of his persona and ended up causing the death of his mother right in front of him. However, I feel like the Selfless Sacrifice Act worked more to serve as a vehicle to advance both Akihiko and Ken's development, rather than making him a more fleshed out character in his own right. He's not the worst though. He definitely isn't the worst. I like that not everybody in C's gets along immediately, and you get the sense the social links actually are a factor in not just fleshing everyone out individually, but also strengthening the sense of camaraderie among the team when they are together, and functioning like a single stable unit during the big story segments like the full root operations. A massive positive for Persona 3, and something that I think that future games would end up struggling with, particularly Persona 5. Persona 3's story is great. From July onwards. Yeah, from April up until you get to go to Yakushima Beach, the story is pretty stagnant. Nothing of note after your awakening and Junpei joining the party really happens. It's when you actually get to visit the Kirijo residence and meet Japanese Nick Fury that revelations start being planted in place, and you find out about all the stuff about the experiments that caused the release of the shadows and the causality of the Dark Hour. Also, Yukari's dad looks like a meth head. From there, especially in October, even if the plot takes its time to weave things together and really build off the information you're given, when the big moments or character advancing twists hit, they hit like a truck sending an isekai protagonist to fucking Opie Land Online. I have my grievances with some of the extra social links, especially this slimy fat fuck over here, but I think among all of the big games, Persona 3 instills a pretty damn good sense of world building. You feel a sense of progression as the year goes by, and things seemingly get worse. When you talk to NPCs or even observe those coming down with apathy syndrome, you just take one good look at them and go, yeah, that guy is sick. No, not in the gnarly Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2X for the original Xbox sort of way. No, he's like actually sick. Someone call a fucking ambulance, please. The story doesn't always hit the mark it wants to. I think Junpei's sort of overly jealous and sensitive relationship with the male protagonist wasn't explored to the extent that it could have come off as effective. A lot of the time, he kind of sounds like he's just bickering about the fact that people think you're a good leader. Which I'm pretty sure I am. Like, dude, they're not holding me on a pedestal. Like, put in the fucking work. I also think Strega wasn't fleshed out nearly as much as I would have liked to see, given their setup is really cool. I love the idea of C's direct opponents all being corrupted Persona summoners. Takaya in particular is overly zealous and later manages to embed all these twisted, pretentious ideologies within the people on Tatsumi Port Island and on the Fall, causing a divide on what people have to do when the prophesied day comes. But as characters, one's just Jesus if all of his friends were a bad influence on him and the other's a hacker man. Chidori's pretty alright, just leave out the stupid shit about the flowers. You know what really helps in emphasizing just how dark, depressing, and devoid of hope the world of Persona 3 is, though? Of course I was going to talk about the soundtrack. Probably my favorite of the entire Persona series and one of my personal favorite video game OSTs of all time. This is the exact aspect of the game that officially gave Persona its own identity that stood out from the rest of the Megami Tensei adjacent series. Like Persona 4's pop rock and Persona 5's jazz-influenced approaches, Persona 3 seems very heavy on techno and rock. It's about as evident as early as you awaken with Persona Orpheus and the music goes all
thy soul I come. I am Orpheus, master of strings.
Is Tartarus repetitive? Yeah. Is its track repetitive too? Definitely. However, unlike Mementos in Persona 5, I feel like Tartarus as a track provides a better sense of urgency. Memento sounds like a track you listen to while on a high, and your brain is just fried deeper than... But despite its melancholic melody, the track's slow pace suits the haunting nature of the beginning floors of the tower, and the fact that the instruments and the leitmotif build as you climb further up and the last floor transitions the track from instilling a dreadful tone to one of more hopeful ambiance makes it a track I'd listen to way more over Mementos. Changing Seasons is just way too much of a bop considering the portion of the game it's associated with. However, if there was a song I'd probably most associate with Persona 3 that isn't that song or that one, it's probably Memories of the City. Now this plays towards the end of the game when shit really hits the fan and you know you've basically been locked into confronting Nyx at the end of January. There's something super melancholic and chilling about the track and its emphasis on the piano, but it instills the feeling that there's still that 1% of hope remaining within each and every party member given the bonds you forged. It really puts into perspective how much the protagonist, and by extension, your viewpoint of the world and what it means to live life, has drastically changed between the start and the end of the game, given it wasn't just the blue-haired dude who was maxing out all those social links, working part-time at the cafe and movie theater, while still being paid minimum wage. Or fucking every girl in the vicinity for 100% completion. You're getting impregnated, no questions asked. The save file decrees it. It was you. You were the guy or girl putting in all the work to discover more about the characters and the lives they led. And it gave you a fresh perspective on why living life to the fullest is so important and why it can't just end because... Will you shut up? In a way, the song perfectly channels the feeling that you're reflecting on the progress you made by immersing yourself and spending so much time doing many of the game's side activities. Your character didn't just grow, but you perfected your ability to get along with the game's systems and mechanics, like the role-playing game actually had you playing a role and the decisions made shape the world around you. It taunts on whether you really want to say goodbye to all of it, even if you beat Nyx on that rooftop, because you cherished every moment you spent with your party both in and out of battle, and all the deeds you had to do. All those mind-numbingly long lectures about spirituality and alchemy from Mr. Edogawa, and I do not feel like maxing out my knowledge today. You're basically prepared to die for your friends at this point, since they build such a sense of camaraderie and an unshakable bond. And they're about to do the same for you, since you yourself got to that level of trust with them. Okay, this is getting too deep for an anime game. Play the funny baby song.
There are 3 enemies. Be careful.
I couldn't finish it off.
In conclusion, Persona 3 may be a game I'll forever look at with tinted, rosy nostalgia glasses. It's the game that got me into the series and led me to discover the likes of masterpieces from Atlus like Nocturne, Digital Double Saga, and eventually Shin Megami Tensei 4, and other Persona games like Persona 4 and 5. It was also one of my first major experiences with an RPG that wasn't one of these. It hasn't aged the best. A game which continues to spark discussion on which version is more definitive in all aspects clearly didn't stand the test of time nearly as well as some people will claim. But that doesn't change the fact that the story that's there, and the characters were emotionally resonant, the gameplay addicting as all hell, and the memories I have from playing it both during the day and secretly in the darkest of nights while keeping a low profile so mom didn't find me obsessing over walking a virtual dog so he could find me a homunculus. Everything about Persona 3 for decades to come will forever stick with me, both the good and the not so good. It doesn't change the fact that I owe this game for getting me full-time into RPGs, and with that, I thank it and its developer Atlus. Thanks a ton, Persona 3. I will always have memories of you.
We're going to do one of our Wheel of Fortune crosswords here, and the clue is, get ready, getting saucy. Tamika, go ahead.
Okay, big money! T.
Well, let's see. There is no T, I'm afraid to report. Suzanne.